All right, so group seven did their presentation on exercise physiology across the lifespan of human development. The three contributors were Shalee, Imes, Ryan, Alonzo, and Dakotah, Walsworth.
So we'll start off with the definition of exercise physiology, which is the study of the body's response to exercise. Some of these responses or effects of exercise may include things like change in metabolism, heart, lungs, and muscles. Um, Exercise can also play a big part in changing our bodies, and it's important that we understand how these changes affect us. Exercise physiology can help us understand the effects exercise has on different age groups as well as genders. The older we get, the more difficult exercise gets due to things like diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. These diseases can be caused by the lack of physical activity and poor diet, and not only affects older people, but younger people as well. And having a full understanding of how our bodies react to exercise can help prevent diseases like diabetes, obesity, and CVD. Some subdisciplines that derive from exercise physiology are anatomy and physiology, and as well as motor control. So we'll start off with anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is a study of structure and relationship between body parts. This is important because we need to understand what's actually inside of our body. While physiology is a study of the function of our body, which is also important to understand what our body is actually doing, how everything's coming together to produce movement like exercise. Motor control. This is important to understand, how are our muscles firing? What causes them to contract, when we are exercising? And these are all important things to fully understand the subdisciplines when it comes to, comprehending the effect of exercise has on the body.
All right, so now we're going to go over some basic concepts of exercise physiology. One of the main concepts of exercise physiology is quite simply just being in the best physical health possible, whether that be a child running around playing tag at the age of 6 or 8 or something, all the way to an adult over 65 who may have a heart or lung problem. The people who study exercise physiology are looking at how the body adapts to exercise over time. And an exercise physiologist can help people improve their health if they have a lung or heart problem or a disease like cystic fibrosis. So they take on the health of people across the entire lifespan. Now for a few examples of exercise physiology across the lifespan. For a child, an exercise physiologist can make sure that a child isn't putting too much stress on their immature musculoskeletal system. So an exercise physiologist would make sure that these children aren't playing too hard, or believe it or not, they're even children that are training, and they want to make sure that they don't do too much for their age. A teen can have exercise physiologists regulate their training to be sure that they aren't going to have an overuse injury or a training-related injury. An adult can consult an exercise physiologist to simply make sure that they remain in their best health, and an athlete could also go to an exercise physiologist to reach their peak performance. An adult over 65 that has a disability could also consult an exercise physiologist just to make sure that they can be in the optimal health for whatever their disability may be, whether it's osteoporosis or a lung or heart problem.
Okay, so some of the effects that training has on exercise physiology across the lifespan is the prevention of lifestyle diseases. So lifestyle diseases are categorized as something that is developed over time, and it is usually caused by your personal habits, something that you choose to do, and you probably could have changed from the beginning. A lot of these diseases are like cardiovascular disease. That is one of the #1 killers in the United States. Obesity, which also contributes to that, and diabetes development. So as children, if they're chronically on their phones, they never get outside enough, they don't play, they have improper diet, these can all lead to the development of these diseases. So it is very important that we implement training in their everyday lifestyle. So another one is muscle atrophy due to progressive aging. This can actually be reduced when chronic resistance training is implemented. It has been noted in many different scientific studies that people who have exercised over the entire course of their life have noticed significant reduction in muscle atrophy comparatively to those who don't exercise or don't have any kind of physical activity regimen that they do regularly. And then chronic resistance training may also reduce the rate of bone degeneration. This is noticed in osteoporosis and osteopenia primarily, seen in women, but also all kinds of elderly people. It can slow the progression and actually prevent some onset symptoms of osteoporosis. So how does exercise physiology, when studied across the lifespan, interact with other subdisciplines in exercise science? There are so many different ways it interacts. It is not just the ones that I've listed here, but these are the two main ones that you can see a lot of correlation with. You've got human motor control. Human motor control is the study of how we as humans actually, as a whole, kind of integrate our movement patterns and use it to execute different activities we would like to work on. A lot of exercise physiology contributes information regarding how neuromuscular connections play an integral role. The idea that the muscle must be stimulated prior to contraction is a concept that the subdiscipline kind of stole from exercise physiology. So prior to exercise physiology, some human motor control specialists thought that the memories of like a certain action, like if you're going to throw a baseball, they thought that it was like stored in your deltoid or in your bicep. This was a really big common misconception in the early 1990s or early 1900s, because they weren't aware of the idea that the neuromuscular system controls everything. It actually comes from your brain and it passes through each axon and dendrite. But that was a new thing for them. Another concept that was derived from exercise physiology that plays a crucial role in human motor control is the reaction time and processing of perceived information and utilization of it that is required to convey a movement pattern. So you have to, this also plays, this is also tied into the neurology of it, but you have to actually take the idea that it is going so fast, but it still takes time for a person to receive the information. So if they're playing football, if they see a quarterback throw the ball to them, they've got to perceive where they've got to be down the line to intercept the ball. And this takes time, and then for them to catch it, it's a whole process. But it's really interesting how that plays into human motor control and exercise physiology. So for another subdiscipline that interacts closely with exercise phys is biomechanics. Exercise physiology plays a crucial role in the muscle development and utilization. So mechanical analysis of how muscle functions and gait analysis is one way exercise physiology connects with that. A lot of biomechanic studies will analyze how gait functions, how people walk, how they run, if there's a problem with it, why there would be a problem with it, and a lot of the reasons could be due to a issue with the muscle, or it could be muscle atrophy or a tear in the muscle or something that's just not functioning properly. And they would really like to realize what that is early on. For a lot of athletes, that's important for their careers. And then biomechanics frequently study the effects of cartilage, ligament, and tendon deterioration on functionality. This is a crucial role in physiology of exercise as well, because without all those structures, it's seemingly impossible to execute any kind of physical activity, much less exercise or competing as an athlete. You can't. That's why a lot of sports medicine scientists they try to study the function of how to reduce cartilage and ligament and tendon deterioration. They really want to know what is the least possible way to injure this while continuing playing the sport. And then chronic weight bearing and resistance exercise stimulates osteoblasts to produce more bone matrix, which is quite interesting. This is also kind of a new topic that we didn't know before. And with the increase of bone formation, the stronger the bone will get and the less susceptible it is to fractures. This exercise physiology concept is very useful in biomechanics that want to increase the functionality throughout all life stages. So a lot of elderly people, specifically women, once they've passed the menopause stage, will stop secreting as much estrogen. And estrogen is a really important component in bone formation, as all hormones. But this has been known to lead towards osteopenia and osteoporosis. Now, a lot of studies have found out that if you have a very active lifestyle, which consists of chronic resistant exercises, whether that be walking or running or doing weight bearing exercises, it can actually stimulate stronger bone formation and will reduce your rates of fractures and symptoms of osteoporosis and pena. So we'll go through some of our discussion questions. I'll let the boys start off with those.
So the first question is, how can our understanding of exercise physiology help people who suffer from these lifestyle diseases like obesity, diabetes, and CVD? Second question would be, how can exercise be used to prolong life?
The third question, how could an exercise physiologist help a child? The fourth question, what is the main goal of an exercise physiologist when helping their athlete or client?
And the fifth question was, contemplate on your undergraduate career in which exercise physiology has integrated itself into different kinesiology courses that you've already taken. How can it enhance your comprehensive knowledge of human movement? And then, how does exercise affect human physiology across the lifespan? Just find one way that you found in our presentation that was really interesting. How are there negative effects on exercise that may be produced across the lifespan that we didn't mention? Just to think about. And there are references, and that concludes our presentation. Awesome. Okay, that was good, y'all.
Yeah.
I liked it. How do I pause record?